Now, before I watched this movie, I heard that the ending was unlike anything you've ever seen before, and I thought, come on, we always hear crazy stuff like that. Then I watched it, and yep, I've never seen that before. Welcome back to The Haunted Beard, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Jake. Well, I know I'm a little bit late to the party on this one, but I finally got a chance to watch Men, one of the newer A24 horror films, and I was curious about this one for a while, ever since I first heard about it. I like A24 more often than not. They usually are doing something pretty good and interesting. I like Alex Garland, the writer-director, and I've been a fan of his work, and so was really curious with this one. It came out, and I knew the reactions to it were pretty divisive, which, again, just kind of piqued my interest in it even more. So finally got to watch it, and I've got some stuff to say about it, so let's get into it. Now, Men tells the story of a woman named Harper, played by Jessie Buckley, who goes on a solo vacation to the English countryside following the death of her ex-husband. Now, before I get into this, I just want to make sure you're aware this is going to be a review containing spoilers. There's just not really any way I feel like I can talk about this and say everything I want to say without talking about spoilers. So you have been warned. Now let's get into it. Now, if I could summarize my thoughts in this real simply, I feel like my own opinion of this is just as divided as kind of the general consensus on this movie. There is part of me that didn't really like this and was kind of annoyed and I guess maybe kind of irritated with it. But then there's another part of me that kind of appreciated it and respected it and admired it in a way. And so I feel like my own self is kind of divided. So let's get into that a little bit more and I'll kind of expand on that. Look, this is a movie that is very clearly about something beyond what is just happening at the surface level. This is a movie that is very, I think it is preachy. I think in a way it kind of has an agenda and it is definitely trying to say something and say it very clearly and very loudly. And at least what I got out of it is this, and this is kind of the general overall message of the movie, at least the way that I understood it and interpreted it. And it's basically that women are victims and all men are basically the same, and it's just in their nature, and they all want the same thing out of women, and that's pretty much it. I mean, men are they're the bad guys in the horror movie. I mean, after all, it is called Men. I mean, you can't really get much more blunt than that. And it really kind of drives that point home multiple times, and certainly in the finale, it really kind of hammers that home. And so that to me is just kind of annoying. There's no subtlety there, there's no nuance. It's just women are victims, men are bad, and they're all the same. And it's just like, all right, and I mean, when you have all the men in this town who are played by the same actor, Rory Kinnear, I mean, it's just, yeah, all men are the same. This is who they are. This is what they do. And they're all terrible. The priest tries to assault her, and he doesn't believe her, and he blames her. And then you've got the whole thing with the flashbacks with her husband, who is like gaslighting her. You've got the little boy who's just calling her bad words. You've got the policeman who it's just like, how many more times are we going to get in a movie like incompetent policemen who don't believe the victims or don't care about them? It's just, to me, like that's just kind of an overused trope at this point. And so, that's just what it is. And it's just like, okay, I guess. And so that whole kind of preachy message agenda aspect to me is just kind of annoying. And at the same time, though, there is a part of me that kind of appreciates the way that this movie presents itself and how it tells its story. And so from a kind of strictly technical filmmaking perspective, there's a lot here that I liked and I thought was pretty well done. I thought Rory Kinnear's performance as all the men in the town was really solid. I thought he did a really good job. I thought Jesse Buckley did a good job as well. I thought just there's a handful of the flashback sequences where you learn more about her relationship with her husband and what happened there. And these scenes are always in this kind of orange glow, so they look really pretty. And just kind of the intensity and the passion and just the really craziness of their relationship really shines through. The performances there, and I think the dialogue there are really solid. The film looks really nice just from like a visual perspective. The color green is like exploding out of this movie, and to me, I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into this, but given the nature of the rest of the film, I don't necessarily think I am, because I think a lot of it's supposed to be kind of understood symbolically. So to me, like, green represents, life and growth and things like that, and maybe just kind of a contrast between that and the death of her husband. And so, I don't know, just something little that I kind of picked up on, but it is really pretty to look at, and I like the colors. It's set in the English countryside, and so there's a lot of really pretty scenery. And I like the sort of fantasy aspect of this movie as well. And I feel like I'm more kind of forgiving or lenient on movies that are ambitious and are just kind of unapologetically their own thing. They're not trying to conform to any type of formula. And this movie is what it is, and it says what it says, and it's just, I just kind of respect that from a filmmaking perspective. Like, we really got to see Alex Garland's vision, and that's what I want to see out of filmmakers, for better or for worse. And I just like the fantasy aspect, because it's always at least interesting to me when movies will present things in a way that are beyond a literal, straightforward interpretation, when sort of fantastical, weird, bizarre stuff start happening. And it's just it's more interesting to kind of look at things symbolically or metaphorically. And I just at least appreciate the attempt and the effort to do something different and to try to be creative. And so there is that aspect of this movie that I enjoyed. I do think that the film left something to be desired in terms of story. There's not a whole lot of story here. A lot of it is just kind of Harper sort of kind of meandering around and not really much there. I wish there was a little bit more of a kind of a story structure to it. I think it would have helped. A couple particular scenes that I like just from a filmmaking kind of perspective are when Jessie Buckley's character goes out to kind of explore the territory, and she comes across the big tunnel. And again, just a lot of pretty scenery, but I just kind of like the whole echo thing and just kind of the sounds there, and then sort of the creepiness of something showing up on the other end of the tunnel and start chasing her. I also like too when the naked Rory Kinnear shows up to the house, only she doesn't see him, and just kind of the editing and even sort of the blocking and where they place him and where the camera is. It was just kind of interesting, again, from kind of a filmmaking perspective. Finally, let's talk a little bit about the ending. So, obviously what happens is she gets attacked by all the men, all the Rory Kinnears, right? And then you get this crazy cyclical birthing sequence where Rory Kinnear's character continually births. The men start producing children. And it's wild, it's crazy, and again, sort of from that horror film fan perspective, I like seeing wild, crazy stuff in movies. It's why I'm a horror movie fan. And so, again, just sort of that crazy insanity of that, it's like I kind of appreciate, I kind of like them going to those levels. But at the same time, what it's kind of communicating through that, at least what I got, is that I kind of understood it as like this was man's perspective of women. And it's just like, this is what they do. They are birthed, they live, they give birth, they die. And it's like, that's just what they do. That's man's view or perspective of women. And that's who they are, and that's what they do, and that's it. And again, it kind of just continually sort of drives that point home. And so to me, it's like, this is what women have been cursed with. And now it sort of, it flips the roles, right? And now it's almost like Jessie Buckley is watching this with enjoyment because it's like payback. Because now the men understand how painful and how difficult it is to be a woman, right? And then you get that final sequence where it's now her husband who is birthed out of the final Rory Kinnear, and and out of all the insanity that was in their relationship, she finally asks, what do you want from me? And he says, to be loved. And it's just, it's again kind of, it's man taking sort of the, oh, I'm the poor victim. Look at what you've done to me. This is all your fault. Again, sort of blaming women for all their problems, I guess. And so, again, it's not very subtle, although the kind of the final shot left me a little unclear because her friend finally shows up, and her friend is pregnant, and then she looks at her friend and smiles. And I guess I'm not entirely sure how to interpret that or what really that means. But anyways, so like I said, I'm kind of torn on this thing. There's just the whole, again, over the top, let me beat you down with my message sort of aspect to it that I'm just kind of like, okay, yeah. And then there's sort of the filmmaking technical, ambitiousness, I think, of this movie that I liked. And so I don't know what kind of grade, I don't know what, this is a movie that's like kind of beyond grading, what is putting a numerical value on this movie even do? But um, I try to grade all my movies, so I'm going to give this one like a 6 out of 10. So those are my thoughts. It's definitely an experience. It's different. Again, I appreciate just that we got to see Alex Garland's vision. And for better or worse, that's what I want to see out of filmmakers. You make the movie you want to make. So those are my thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit me up down below. I know people have all sorts of wild, crazy opinions on this movie, and the opinions are just all over the board, from it's wonderful to it's absolute trash to everything in between. So let me know down below. Would love to hear from you. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time on The Haunted Beard.